Welcome fellow adventurers, I am Fox, and in this video I will be cover Lahn's law, wielder of the Noble Sword and Crimson Glaives. If you like this video, and would like to see more videos like this, do not forget to like and follow my channel. Disclaimer: this is not my real voice, and I will be covering both pre-awakening and awakening lore. Lahns are martial artists who crossed over to the Black Desert continent from a far eastern kingdom. When they are fighting with the crescent pendulum, it almost looks like they are dancing as they cut through their enemies. They are agile and quick on their feet, and can quickly deliver devastating attacks by swinging the crescent pendulum. By careful manipulation of the swinging motion, they can even deliver attacks from all sides. While enemies are distracted by the bold movements of the crescent pendulum, they can swiftly move great distances in the air. Only blood can pay for blood. It was pouring rain. The darkness of the stormy skies reflected her dark mood. Her once snow-white sleeves were muddied. She let out a deep sigh as she returned to her training. Training was all she did these days. Training to fill the emptiness of her life, and to forget the memories that still were haunting her. A faint sense of longing could be seen in the push and pull of the crescent pendulum as she trained. It was all she had left to connect her to her past. As she tormented over her foggy memories, a single blood drop trickled down from her worried lips. She ceased her training and collapsed into the mud. She did not care that mud splashed onto her left cheek or soaked her body. It was then, through her bleary eyes, she saw a thickly armored shoe coming into view. It looked familiar. It had a pattern that she had only seen back in her home kingdom in the east. Could it be? Then she heard a voice in a tongue she had not heard since she had left her home in the east. Your elegant movements have been marred by your distracted mind. Now, what can we do about this? She looked up, and there they were, those familiar eyes. The moment she met those eyes, her world turned upside down, and it felt like time froze over. She couldn't help but shout out the name of the man she thought she had lost forever, Unconditionally. It could not be, he was dead. After all, she had buried him with her own hands. Yet instead of looking out for her from the afterlife, he was standing in front of her, flesh and bone. Seeing him in front of her unscathed the memories she had buried and tried to forget. Those memories came flowing into her mind like a burst dam. When the orchid is crying, how can the common clover not help but grieve with her? I once promised you, no matter where you are, I will always be with you. Do you believe me now? For a while, neither spoke while they looked at each other. Then, Jung started speaking again. We devoted everything to our kingdom, and all we got was betrayal. Others have betrayed us for their own greed, but by some miracle we have both survived. Even if our hearts may be shadowed in darkness after that betrayal, we are still the only ones who can save this turbulent world, and those who live in it. Her tired mind had doubts, but she used to be a shrine guardian after all. She knew better than anyone else that spirits of the dead did not always leave the realm of the living behind. Noticing confusion in her eyes, Jung offered a hand towards her and said, "If you come with me, it will not be easy. However, I believe that together we can do anything. Besides, when I was searching this land for you, I came across a powerful, holy weapon. Its true powers seem to be dormant, but if we awaken it, we will become unstoppable. Well, won't you come with me?" She thought, there is nothing holding me to this lonesome place. She nodded and grasped Jung's offered hand to pull herself up. She let her spiritual powers pull her towards their destination. Several days had passed when they came across a pair of old glaives half buried in the ground. To the ordinary eyes, they looked no different from two rusty pieces overwhelmingly, but she could feel an overwhelming strong power spilling out from the glaives. As Jung claimed, they indeed seemed to be a powerful, holy weapon. She thought, with these glaives, we can bring justice to all those who betrayed us, and rebuild the kingdom as a just and civilized place, like we've always dreamed of. She reached for the glaives with the power to shape their future, when suddenly the skies filled with stormy clouds and a thundering roar. As she looked around at the sudden commotion around her, a dark form started to slowly crawl from the glaives and up her fingers. Panicking, she looked towards Jung. Jung looked at her panicked eyes and let out a malicious smile. "Oh, you poor, gullible shrine guardian. Did you truly believe the dead could come back from the grave? You were so easily fooled. All I did was dig up Unconditionally's armor from the grave you buried him in. The dark power of the glaives has already seeped into your body. Soon, it will take over your entire being, and nothing and no one will be able to stop us. You traitor." It was a face she would never forget. Not if she lived for 1,000 years. As she watched, a dark energy surrounded Jung and his face melted to reveal true form of the traitor. She reached for her crescent pendulum, but instead clutched her chest in horror and disgust. You have awakened the crimson glaives which have laid dormant for thousands of years. It seems like I was right to lure you to this place. Now that you have touched the glaives, it is only a matter of time before your soul becomes steeped in darkness. Once the glaives are done corrupting your soul, I can safely take the glaives, and use them too. In that moment, the noble sword pierced the traitor's brows, and put an abrupt stop to the villainous monologue. However, as she was pulling out her sword, she suddenly noticed a strange and musky smell. The traitor had not died. Rising up, the traitor took out a pitch-black stone, and swallowed it whole. Of course. I have underestimated your strength. You have not only awakened the crimson glaives, but you seemed to have consumed the soul trapped inside them as well and taken control. Just as well. You have become an even more tempting prey for me. The traitor started to gather his energy, and began to grow bigger. As his muscles began to bulge, the armor he was wearing burst into pieces. She couldn't think straight. It was as if a hurricane was sweeping through her head. She wanted to become more powerful and take revenge, but her frustrations with the world and her situation brought turmoil to her mind. All she could think was, cut down everything in front of you, get rid of all nuisances. She brought up her noble sword to parry the monstrous traitor's claws, and soon there was only the sounds of battle. The traitor laughed and ridiculed her, but as the fight continued, he realized that he could not triumph over the woman who had consumed the soul trapped in the crimson glaives. Cursing with all grudges against her was the only thing that he could do. As the traitor laid in defeat, after receiving a fatal wound, he coughed up blood and said, "Look at yourself. Your soul is just as tainted, and your ideals corrupted. You may have taken my life, but you'll become the same as me. A creature of bloodthirst and chaos. Your justice will become revenge and your compassion, selfishness. As the crimson glaives have chosen you, the only path you are on is to the grim afterlife where Jung awaits you." With those last words, the traitor died and his body disappeared. What had happened? Was it really the traitor that led her here, or this all her mind playing tricks, drawing from her emptiness, loneliness and anger? Yet if it had truly been him, how had he gained that dark and monstrous power? With a sigh she stood up. She held each blade of the crimson glaives in her hands. The crimson glaives, which only accept those with a malicious soul, had been awakened for the first time in eons. It was pouring rain again. The darkness of the stormy skies reflected her dark mood. Lifeless bodies piled up in the grassy meadows. Standing amongst the bodies, she let out an unhinged sound, half laughter and half cry. She looked down at the carnage she had caused, and let out a smile. The once warm scent of orchids became the cold, metallic scent of blood and seeped into the earth. Those who still clung on to life crawled towards her, latching onto her hems and begging for mercy. Repulsed, she swung down the crimson glaives, and put an end to their misery. Blood splattered like flower petals on her cheeks. After many years of training and minding her place, first at the royal court, and then at the shrine, the crimson glaives finally brought out her true, latent potential. She started walking. To the next destination, and next. Where was she going? She did not know, and nothing she did felt significant, but she kept walking anyway. As she left the massacre behind, she let out a laughter that echoed through the valley. She cried, "Only blood can pay for blood." I hope you enjoyed this video. For more lore on different classes of Black Desert Online, do not forget to like and subscribe. Let's aim for 100 likes. Thanks and God bless you all.